So when I was going through that time, my sister called me and she said, you know what, I have a girlfriend who's been through, she's not going through it anymore, but she went through exactly what you're going through. Her husband's a doctor. Here's what medicine she's taking and she wants to talk to you. So I talked to her and she gave me all this advice. And she pretty much was like pep talking me, like, this is not going to be forever. You will not feel this way forever. You're going to get through this. And I would periodically text her if I was having a really bad day or whatever. And now I had a girlfriend text me just yesterday that said, I have a friend that's going through a really hard time and she wants to know what you went through. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm on the other side of this. This is so nice. And now I can help someone else. And so a lot of moms go through it. And I'm really keen on talking about it because a lot of people don't talk about it and they think that there's shame in getting help or taking medication. And I'm just like, you know what? It's not going to hurt you. It's only going to help you. And if you need that, do it. Do whatever is going to make you a better you and more happy.
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. Know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out, episode 180. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. Hi. Well, what was that noise for?
I don't even know.
I haven't even done anything yet, and I'm getting harumphed.
I'm still in like work mode.
Work mode?
I wish I was in workout mode. No, I was in work mode. Sheesh.
Surprised you're not down here like in a pencil skirt with your...
Not when I'm working from home. F that.
Well, that's true.
F that.
Especially when I'm not working from home. Don't put on the pencil skirt when I'm not around. So, I guess we should probably plug right here. Just one last time. This is your last chance.
This is it
to win a pink Peloton.
So remind me, they're going to do the drawing because this is through another company. It's a third party called Rally Up.
Which, in case you're curious, Rally Up is a website that does raffles and sweepstakes. This is technically legally a sweepstakes. We should be clear, but for things just like this, they draw the winner, and that way you know that it's legit.
Yeah, they keep it like they keep all the money and everything. It's like a third party holding.
Yeah,
and there shows everybody that everything is kept on an up and up basis. Like it's all very transparent.
Correct.
So they have to wait like 3 days just in case people mail it in,
right? Because you can also enter for free, which is what makes it a sweepstakes, and
right.
you have to mail in like a 3x5 card, or kind of like the Frito-Lay sweepstakes back in the day,
right?
And so it takes a little. They have to allow a time for mail-in ballots. Did I just start a shit storm? So
I'm just not.
we're gonna count those after the fact, because that's how we roll.
That's how we
at
roll.
The Clip Out. So yeah, we've partnered up with the National Breast Cancer Foundation, and they do lots of wonderful things for people who find themselves in that situation. And we have a one-of-a-kind custom pink Peloton, only one in the world.
Only one.
And so if you go to theclipout.com/pink, you can donate money, and you'll get more entries into the pot.
Mm-hmm.
Based on how much money you donate, or you can get your one for free with writing a letter.
Well, I'm hoping, I'm crossing my fingers that we cross the $8,000 mark, because we are really close to it.
Yeah, and so October 31st is the last day. It ends in October. It's for the month of October. So this will come out on a Friday. So you'll have basically like about 36 hours from the time this first drops. So if you're listening to this on Sunday, you missed your window. I mean, I guess you could still send them money. They'll take it, but you can't get entered into the contest. So we should have a winner in time for next week's episode.
We should.
So there you go. Once again, if you want to throw some money in the pot, it's theclipout.com/pink.
See you there.
So now that we've done all that, what do you have in store for people this week?
Well, we're going to talk about a whole lot of things. We're going to talk about what's going on with Peloton and the stock market. we're going to talk about the earnings call coming up.
Okay.
And then there's a ton of fun things going on with the instructors. Everybody's getting very creative for Halloween.
Lots of quick hits.
Lots of quick hits. This is going to be like
Quick-
boom, boom, boom.
Quick hits with 2 eyes. See what I did there?
We're getting your heart rate up.
Yeah. Hang on.
What was that?
I'm helping people get their heart rates up.
Oh, showing a little skin.
Got a little sexy there for the people on YouTube.
And then there's some fun stuff in the news to cover too. So I think that's about it.
Okay. Well, before we get to all that shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeart, TuneIn, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And also, if you would be so kind, you could leave us a review.
We love reviews.
And it just kind of it's like planting a little seed for people to come along after you that it's worth their time.
If you've ever been like, gosh, you guys do so much for free, how can I help you? This is it.
This is
it.
the easiest thing you can do. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a little bit of your time. Oh, I rhymed.
You did.
Look at me.
Yeah.
That's so
Fancy.
I know. I've been watching all that Flavor Flav on the while we've been going through the old Dr. Jen's.
Oh my God, that's great.
Who is back this week, we should say.
Yes.
Yeah, we just had some scheduling conflicts getting her on the Skype-a-phone. Sorry,
She's
Zoom
back.
tube. And
She's
she has
back.
returned. So anyway, we have a new review. This is from Carrie Gormley.
Oh, Carrie.
And she says,
yes.
Crystal and Tom do an amazing job keeping the Peloton community up to date with the latest news and getting to know fellow riders. What makes this podcast good is that it's done with kindness, open hearts, and tons of laughter.
Aw.
Crystal and Tom ask fantastic questions and look for the positive. And there's more, but it's pretty lengthy, which is great. We appreciate it.
Yes.
But I don't want to I know
We've got
we're
a really long episode
it's a busy
today.
week. So, but thank you so much. And also don't forget Facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group, sign up for the newsletter at theclipout.com. So there's all of that. Let's dig in, shall we?
Breaking news.
So joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is the one and only John Mills. Hey, John, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Should we say
The famous.
Oh my God.
The famous John Mills.
the famous male model?
Do we need to start calling you Mr. Mills?
The
Mr. Mills.
infamous? That's probably more accurate.
Look at this Shape magazine. Look at that.
I'm confused. I have a shape. Why am I?
Well, honey, if you would ever work out.
Oh no, I didn't realize that was the metric they were using. I'm like, I have a shape. It's oval. I'm built like a booger. I could be on there.
Like shape, I mean.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, that is really cool.
Yeah. That's seriously though. That's really awesome.
I mean, there's a whole story behind that.
There is.
Well, oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so a year and a half ago,
Right.
I was back before COVID. Me, Eric, and I had memberships at LA Fitness and at what's the other one? Planet Fitness.
Okay.
And we went there regularly. Even we worked out at home, and when we got tired, we'd go to these gyms. And we traveled a lot, so certain places there'd be a Planet Fitness, certain places there'd be LA Fitness. So we always had somewhere to go. And I was always sharing my stories and my pictures and everything when I'm there working out. So they hit me up on Instagram, and they're like, "Look, we'll give you a free membership to Planet Fitness. If you just continue doing that." Okay, but they weren't someone I followed, so they went to message requests, and I didn't see the message for like 3 months. Oh. Right. And so 3 months later, I'm going, they're going to give me a free membership. So I responded, and then they never responded back. They're like, this guy didn't care. What's wrong with him? Right. So I said, I'm never going to do that again. Cut to June 2020. Shape Magazine hits me up on Instagram. Oh, we love that picture. We want to share that. We would do some stuff with it. Is that cool? I never saw it until like a week ago. So 4 months later, I see the message from Shape Magazine. I respond to them, and I'm like, all humble, and I'm so sorry. You're a great magazine, and I'm just an idiot,
But a shapely idiot.
Use it, go right ahead. And did I say how much I love your magazine? Luckily, they still used it.
Oh, that's so cool.
I'm going to learn one of these days to check those messages.
Yeah, you got to check the other.
Yeah. That's probably how I would feel if like Mad Magazine reached out to me.
That is.
Be like, I'll do Spy versus Spy.
If you missed out from Mad Magazine contacting you, He'd be throwing things.
I'd be crushed.
He would be so
Yes,
mad.
I would be crushed.
Were you throwing things?
I was upset the entire night. Like, it was at night when I realized it. And then I went to sleep just all sad, sad music playing in my head. And I woke up the next morning going, I hope they responded. But when I woke up, I looked and they just had liked my message.
Aww.
And I went, maybe they'll share it. It was pathetic. But meanwhile, Eric was working like, come on.
Well, and before we get to the breaking news real quick, we should also point out that he's been very, very busy this week. He was kind enough to make us get famous.
Get famous?
That's how I'm going to say it. Get famous. He made a bunch of Giphies of us. Which was super kind because we're old, or at least I'm old, and I don't know how to do all this.
I'm not old, but I'm old enough that I don't have the patience. Like, I don't even know how you do this, but it is amazing.
Yeah, they're really cool.
You were like, we need to do these steps, this step. And I was like, sure, let's do that. I don't know. Yeah. Thank you so much for doing. They are so fun. I love them.
And the best part is it made all the guys on my other podcast super jealous when I'm just like, we're having a conversation there and I just slip in a GIF of myself. And they're like, where did that come from? I'm like, well, the other show.
Right? You got to get one for every possible emotion. So I'm still looking for more for the different emotions. You got to have one you can use in any possible situation.
I told Tom he's going to have to make me do the look. Like, that's his goal this week. He's got to do the look and a humph. Which is hard, like, especially at the same time. And I have to tell you that whenever I pulled out one of those Giphies in our text string with the kids, their heads exploded. They were like, "What?
Yes,
you made our kids think we are cool."
Like she was in the New York Times.
They didn't care.
We were on TV.
they didn't care.
Like
now there's a GIF. In your face.
Care.
Yeah, I'll get a phone call from like Joel Hodgson or from a rock star, and they don't care.
Nothing.
We had a GIF.
Oh my God!
My God!
What?
Yeah.
Right.
Crazy. So
I'm still working. I gotta get every emotion. I'm working on it.
Well, cool. Well, thank you very much.
Yes,
You're really cool.
thank you.
Absolutely.
If anybody's looking for them, whenever you're in the GIF bar, if you want to utilize one of you can just type in the clip out. That's probably the easiest way. It'll pull all of them up.
Make sure you put the.
Right.
We've heard it gets a little weird if you don't include the.
Clip out.
Yeah. It's the clip out, no spaces, or you can.
You can do it with spaces. It pulls them up with spaces too.
Okay.
That's how I've been doing it. So, but anyway, enough of all that. Let's get to our breaking news at long last. Now that we're done with the introduction, and so there's a little bit of controversy brewing around a comment Jess King made on a ride not too long ago.
So before I play the clip, I'll give you guys a little background. This is the 20-minute country ride. I think it was October 19th. And there was a comment made by Jess, which you will hear here in a moment. And she kind of gives a shout out. It was a shout out to an actual Karen, a person named Karen. And while she said that, she also was like, I need to talk about Karens, while I'm there. And was like, you guys have had a hard year. It sucks. And then that was it. But then it led to some things. So we'll watch the clip and then we'll talk about what happened.
We'll meet back here.
While we're at it, I got to give a shout out to all the Karens out there. I feel like y'all been having a hard year and you don't deserve that. So shout out to you, Karen.
There was some blue sorrow time.
That was it.
Okay.
All right. So fast forward to today, and it was brought to my attention. I don't know. Should I say whose account this is?
I don't see why not. I mean, she posted it publicly. I don't feel like we're outing somebody.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that. I just, Yeah,
you want to be above board, and you don't want to draw a bunch of hate to somebody, but
exactly.
But she's an activist, right? And so she's sadly, probably used to hate.
Well,
sadly.
yeah. I mean, when you bring things up, people
totally
when you are an opinionated person, people have differing opinions and they let you know.
Yeah.
So this is from JessicaWilson.msrd. And she says, I'm going to read the whole thing. It's a little long. Dear Peloton Studios, I have appreciated your recent hiring of multiple Black instructors in your studios. It seems like you are paying attention to global conversations about racial injustice and want to make changes. As such, would you please remove the 20-minute ride during which the instructor gives, underlined, a shout out to all the Karens out there. I feel y'all have been having a hard year and you don't deserve that. End of underline question mark. Being reminded of people like Amy Cooper and the white women who call the cops on Black folks for enjoying ourselves is the last thing I want to experience during my unwind time. And I can imagine that others feel the same. Sincerely, Jessica Wilson, MSRD.
Got it. Okay.
I will say, like, because you sent it to me while I was working, so I didn't get to read it super focused. So
totally.
Now hearing it, I guess, like, at first I thought she was complaining, thinking that Jess King was, like, endorsing Karens or sticking up for them, but now I don't think that's what she's saying. I think she's just saying, like, I hear her just saying, like, can we just not talk about this at all? While we're, you know what I mean? Like,
that's not what I hear too.
Yeah,
really?
like
I was expecting something different as well. I was expecting it to be able to be construed as you're endorsing some behavior based on using that name. But to me now it just sounds like I don't want to be thinking about that while I'm riding.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of like talking about politics, and maybe you don't want to hear about, don't want that coming into your brain while you're riding.
But I would also say the instructors have talked frequently about social issues. That's also bringing it up. Like, if it's just the idea of having the topic addressed during a ride is problematic for her, then what do you do about the instructors that are really championing a social cause like Black Lives Matter or something like that?
I feel like that's where it's really difficult for Peloton to walk this line, for anybody to walk this line.
Totally.
But since we're talking about Peloton specifically, because they keep saying, like, they say two things. One, we want to stand up for human rights. Mm-hmm. And two, we don't want to politicize the platform. And I agree with both of those things. However, how do you have conversations and let the instructors be who they are?
And that's a difficult Venn diagram to draw at the moment.
Very. Probably no more difficult than more difficult today than it's ever been, with the exception of maybe like during the civil rights movement.
Right.
I don't know what people are supposed to do or say. I don't know what the right answers are. I don't have them. But I felt it was interesting to bring up because this person, this Jessica Wilson, she has 140,000 followers, which is not insignificant.
Totally.
And it's been liked 7,500 times.
Oh.
Apparently, she wrote to Peloton a couple of times and they never answered. And that was like a week ago. And so I think that now we're not going to hear the end of this for a while. And so I wanted to have everybody see that clip because I don't even know if it will exist the next time we record. It could very easily be taken down.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what happened with the Jen Sherman one. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just like you said, Tom. I think that's just a very difficult line to manage and walk. You know what I mean? Because of course you can tell Jess King didn't have any intent there to really politicize anything.
And I will also say,
absolutely get that you could have some feelings kind of riled up just thinking about that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I went into the clip thinking that it was going to that it was like misheard as an endorsement of Karen's, when really it's just like, it's got to suck for you if your name is Karen right now. And again, there are way worse crosses to bear. Right? than just being named Karen. And I kind of have a dog in this fight. My sister's name is Karen. So
right. And it's something we've genuinely talked about, Tom and I. Like, she's not concerned about it, but we always feel bad because she's totally not a Karen in that aspect.
In that capacity.
Capacity. And so that sucks.
And also, I think even more importantly, a lot of people forget that it was a Karen who saved Frosty the Snowman.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's
but
good to know.
then I go back and I'm like, and Frosty is what color? So
that took a turn.
Yeah, sorry. So
that woman, she wasn't even questioning or challenging that aspect.
She was not.
Okay.
She was not. I don't think that's my. Now I'm back to my interpretation of her. I don't think so either.
Okay, I do need to say that here's the thing. If you read the comments, it gets a lot more heated.
I'm sure.
And
The internet.
And it becomes
It always does.
I know, but it becomes very clear that her actual intent is for no one to have to hear this, because it's about black versus white, because it literally says repost in your stories if you can, and hopefully this ride can come down and no other black folks will accidentally tune in and hear this message. So that's a little different, right?
I don't know if it is.
I don't think it is.
To me, it seems like it's back to the same point, which is when I heard it, like, well, I'm speaking for her.
Right.
It sounds like she's saying when she heard it, it brought her to a place.
Okay.
And she doesn't want that to bring anyone else to that same place. So to me, it's still the same thing.
Yeah.
I guess I kind of feel like, I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I kind of feel like it was bringing something to it that was not intended. And I don't know how people are supposed to just be free and talk without sometimes doing that, without meaning to. I'm not.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's just hard.
Yeah.
It's just
That's hard. In a format like this, like, it's definitely a line.
Yeah, but I will also say she's not asking to have her fired or to boycott.
No.
She's just saying, like,
Take it down.
Can we take this down?
Yeah.
And as much as Peloton takes down rides, they're no stranger to doing that for a multitude of reasons, and a multitude of no reasons.
She said that Peloton hasn't responded.
Yeah, I think that's bad optics.
Interesting to me.
I know. See, that's the thing. Like, Peloton really needs to be careful, because there are things that they respond to, they choose to respond to, and there are things they choose not to respond to. And what it looks like to me is, if you have certain people's ear at Peloton, they'll respond. And if you don't, then you won't. And that's a different kind of problem.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't like that one very much.
But I will also say, I think the larger they get, the more that's going to be a thing. Like, I don't know how you...
The more they need to not do that.
Yeah.
The more they need to be careful and not take somebody who's been a rider since the beginning of time, who happens to be your own personal friend, and respond to only that one and ignore everybody else. That's the more you need to not do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
that's my soapbox.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess we'll kind of segue into stock news.
Peloton stock ticker.
So the Peloton stock has been downgraded at Goldman Sachs. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
It says after a 458% rally because of the shipment delays.
Yeah. I'm curious.
So they downgraded it from buy to neutral, which means hold. At the same time, they upped the price target from 138 to 140. But
that's good to point out.
Yeah.
Right. But ultimately, the reasoning is based on what's been occurring in their fiscal Q2 2021. So it's nothing relative to what's about to be reported on November 5th, right? It's relative to the delays of those shipments that are occurring at the Port of LA. And they point out in this article that some customers that were expecting deliveries in October received an email message stating that, well, your delivery is going to be delayed for 5 to 6 weeks. And if you don't respond within 48 hours, you may not get it until sometime in 2021.
Oof.
And so they're citing all those things as reasons why the numbers that were expected in next quarter's reporting, so the last 3 months of the year, those numbers may not be what we expect them to be because of these delivery issues happening now. Therefore, what they report for those numbers, which they'll report in February, may not hit the target.
Okay.
And based on that, they're going, well, the stock is probably got everything priced into it, their growth up to this point. So they're just a hold. Stay right there.
Okay.
That's basically what they're saying. Right.
Okay. Well, that adds a lot of thank you for translating all the blah, blah, blah.
Thank you for turning that into people.
But the thing is, to me, I mean, you can look at it multiple ways. You could be like, well, yeah, this is bad, the logistics. You could also go, they're getting so many orders. This is just nuts. There's just problems because everyone wants one.
Right.
Yeah. But I think it kind of comes down to what so I thought that this was saying that, like, because of the bad the negative connotation that they were going to get for disappointing customers was going to reflect badly on them.
And really, it's more just like, well, they're not going to get that money till the next quarter.
Yeah.
Right.
I should have known Wall Street doesn't care.
They don't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
I'm sorry, I thought you knew.
It's just simply bikes that should, because they can't count the bike in the quarter's numbers until it's actually at that person's house. So they're saying there's probably going to be a bunch of bikes that don't get delivered until January that would have normally been counted in December.
That's interesting that they can't start counting it till it's at the person's house, but the person's loan starts when they buy. That's kind of, I would have thought those would be equal. I understand why the loan is not, like, I understand why that starts ticking day one.
Right.
Not saying that's a problem, but I just find it interesting from an accounting perspective. It doesn't count till it gets to your door.
Yeah, that is interesting.
There's one more nugget in that article that I found extremely interesting, and that is that was our first glimpse into what they're spending on marketing.
Okay.
Like, we didn't know anything. We were going to wait on November 5th. We were going to find out. But in the article, it tells you exactly what Peloton spent in marketing for July, August, and September, this entire quarter that they're about to report. And it equates to 1.7 million. The interesting part about that is last quarter, they spent 1.2 million, which was considered a tiny amount compared to previous quarters. And we knew why, because that was April, May, June, in the middle of COVID. They didn't need to spend on marketing because everybody was just buying up anything relative to cardio and weight training. And so they turned a profit because they didn't really have to do any marketing. The quarter before that, they spent 41 million. So you see the disparity. 41 million, and then all of a sudden they spend 1.2. And now we just found out, because of that article, this quarter they're reporting on, they spent 1.7. So they're still barely spending.
Right.
Which kind of gives you some insight into,
and it also,
they're probably going to make, I think
it also gives you some insight into how much the media companies must be struggling, because I'm sure they're not the only company that has reduced their media spend. Maybe not that draconianly, is that a word?
Right.
But that's a lot of money.
It is.
It's a lot of money, and you extrapolate that across multiple companies that have stopped doing that. So that's a lot. So, and then there was an article in the Motley Fool, which sometimes we like, sometimes we don't, how Peloton is about to suck the air out of the interactive home fitness industry.
Yeah, that one's an interesting one. They're basically saying, well, since Peloton now has this better, best process selling mechanism where they have an $18.95 bike and they got the $24.95 bike plus, and since they got this lower cost bike, comparable bikes from Nordic Track or Nautilus are in a similar price range, but people are going to be driven towards the Peloton, and Peloton is saying we're about to double our R&D spend. So how do they keep up with that? How do they continue to spend on R&D and continue to be progressive and innovative with the amount of money that Peloton's spending? Can they really compete with that? So that's really, kind of the challenging question in that article. And if you add to that, Peloton saying we're going to be introducing a certified pre-owned program. So now we're going to have a good, better, best strategy. What's that cost going to be? Like Nordic Track, their lowest cost comparable bike is right around $1,600. I don't know, what is the CPO price going to be? It could be $1,500, $1,400. So how do they compete with that?
That article was saying $1,200 to $1,400, which I thought was a little low, based on what, because you and I have we've all talked about this before, that that seems, I think we had this conversation actually when we were on one of our
Zoom calls.
Yeah. And we got into that discussion, I think, but we talked about the fact that seems a little too low. Like that seems so low that it's probably not feasible, but that $1,600 range, like if you had an option between buying Nordic Track at $1,600 and buying a Peloton at $1,600, that's kind of a no-brainer.
Especially if it comes certified and it's still under warranty, and
and you have all this content that's amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. We got like a running challenge going on in my group now with regards to what is the price going to be for this CPO bike.
What is it coming in at?
Right. Well, we already know that the margins to make the bike, are about 45%, which means with the manufacturing and the marketing, it's costing them about $1,300 to make the bike. At least last quarter, around $1,300. Right. So my mind was, it can't be below $1,300, right? That's what my guess, therefore, went up. I thought it's going to be just under $1,600. It's going to be around the cost of the lowest price Nordic Track bike. So my guess was $1,595. But the other folks in my group are like, no, that's way too high, John. I'm thinking $1,250 or I'm thinking $1,300. They're thinking much lower. So I don't know. We'll see.
I'm going to go with I'm going to go closer to your end because, and the reason why is Peloton's not going to sell it for cheaper than they need to. They're just not going to.
I think also you gotta worry about the fact that if they're selling it, if they get down to that $1,200 range, I think then they might start cannibalizing their own sales, right? Like it's like why buy an $1,800 bike when you can get one that's been certified and has some sort of warranty for $1,200? Like I just
Absolutely.
I just think that at that point you kill that mid-range bike. So I just don't see him going that low.
Plus, they don't want to compete with the lowest end bikes. Like they don't want to compete with the $900 or the $500 echelon. They don't want to.
Yeah.
Like that's not who they are. They're better than that. I mean,
and those bikes are a different thing.
That's what I'm
they don't
saying.
have built-in screens.
Right.
But once you get to these bikes with built-in screens, and I really kind of just, to be honest with you, I really just look at Nordic Track and Nautilus. Once you get to the echelons, like I look at those two. And when you look at those two, 1,600 is the lowest cost comparable bike. So my mind, to your point, I don't think they're going to want to cannibalize their other business. And I don't know that they want to be so much lower than Nordic Track. I think they want to have that luxury feel.
They do. They absolutely do. And when I say better than that, that's what I mean. It's that luxury thing that they're talking about. Not like they're literally like snobby better than them, but it's that luxury piece.
It's still an aspirational brand.
Absolutely.
And they want it to stay that way. And then speaking of competitors, there was a Bowflex review that you stumbled across.
Your comments on this really cracked me up.
What is going on with the Bowflex Velour review? Well, I've been waiting for them to announce their numbers with this bike, which they're going to announce on November 9th. Like I'm waiting for this.
And so we've got Peloton November 5th for their earnings. We have Nordic Track, or would it be Icon?
Nautilus.
Sorry.
On November 9th.
Okay.
And because they own Bowflex. And this is their first bike with a built-in screen. And, it does the whole tilting thing. And that was their thing about this bike. And I'm pretty sure it's doing really well in sales.
Honestly, I bet it is. I mean, I saw it and I was like, that's pretty cool. Now, I get that there are people that see it and they're like, why would I want that bike? Because it doesn't look very sturdy. Well, I don't know whether it is or it isn't because it's I can't tell without feeling it,
Right.
But I will say that using the rocker with my Peloton, like that is a legit workout to your abs that you do not get on a Peloton. It is a completely different feel. And so I can understand. And also it looks fun. It looks more like a video game.
Fun, right? Right. So I'm pretty sure it's so well, but we won't know until November 9th, but I cannot wait to hear it. But the article did all these comparisons, right? There's a bunch of benefits, a bunch of pros and a bunch of cons. But what got me about it was the core cons to me are missing.
Yes, tell us about those because that's the part that cracked me up. Do you need me to show my screen or do you?
Yeah. Show it.
Okay.
I'm gonna forget.
Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna show our notes. People are going behind the scenes here. We're going behind the scenes.
But I can start. So the core cons to me are one. They don't have on-demand. They don't have live classes. They only have on-demand. Number two, even the on-demand classes, their library only has like 75.
Yeah, 75 is a joke.
Right?
I mean, that's nothing.
Right? Okay, and so, it doesn't have the swivel screen.
They don't even have a Sentry shirt.
You can't even get to a Sentry shirt. You get 25, 50, 75.
You're done. You're out.
So they don't. The other piece, it doesn't have the swivel screen or the power meter pedals, but that's okay. The lower cost bike in Peloton's range doesn't either. But what's interesting to me about that point is if you buy this bike, which is $21.99, add the delivery cost, it's literally the same price as buying a Bike Plus.
Yeah. So.
Right. So. So why am I buying that with 75 classes and no live and no swivel screen and no power meter pedals? Why am I doing that?
I feel like there's a type of person out there that just wants to be contrary.
Oh, you know it.
And that
they can't. They're like, I don't like Peloton because everybody likes Peloton.
Right.
Harumph.
That it's like, yeah.
I've been that person about TV shows. Like if there's a TV show that's like super, super popular, I won't watch it.
Right. I've done that.
It's like she thinks she's too good for it, and then I finally talk her into it, and now she loves Teen Mom.
But there's one other thing about it as well. Also, they have 75 classes. Those are bike classes. They have no floor classes. So there's no stretching. There's no weight, no yoga.
That's crazy.
Meditation. None of that. It's 75 bike classes.
Wow. You know what that is? That's ballsy.
Yeah.
I mean,
to me, those all should have been listed in the cons. You're paying $2,400 ultimately in the end.
Doesn't that kind of feel like
classes.
Doesn't that kind of feel like the person who wrote the article really didn't do their research very well?
I don't know. Well, they clearly left. To me, those are the key cons. That's key.
Yeah,
right.
That's to pay as much as you do for Bike Plus for that kind of content. I think these other companies are still really undervaluing content.
Absolutely.
Right? Like they still are in that old world model of their equipment manufacturers, and they just don't see the value of the content. And so in their mind, they're probably like, how many of these classes are you really going to take anyway? And you used to just have a video and you'd watch the video over and over again, like sweating to the oldies. You're good. You got 75 of these things. And, you know, if you exercise twice a week,
I'll take you like 8 weeks.
Gets you halfway through the year, you know? And I think that they just don't understand that the paradigm has completely shifted.
Yeah.
Right. And another thing, there's no leaderboard. So the social aspects are gone. There's no high fives and there's no competing.
Yeah. So there's no leaderboard at all. Like you can't even see where you. So basically what you're telling me is the only thing they added was you can dance back and forth.
Oh yeah. You can do this.
Go side to side.
You can do this.
You can do this.
That's it.
I mean?
And then they took away everything we actually love about the bike. That's
right. And you can do 75 classes of that. Like to me, those are the cons.
Yeah, that's a lot of cons.
Now you got. I mean, Nautilus is up 1,200. Their stock is up 1,200%.
But didn't their stock start at like $1 or something? Like
yeah, it started at like. What was it at? Like $2.50 a share?
And well, I think right now in that industry, you kind of can't fail. Like I don't think it's a fair time to really judge if anybody's good at their job because it's pretty hard to screw up. It's like being a mortgage broker in 2004, right?
But the reason I point out the reason I point out Nautilus specifically is I can't point. Well, I guess there's an argument here. I was going to say I can't point directly at any other connected fitness companies that have had that type of return.
Okay, that's fair.
That's fair.
There are only a few of them out there.
Right.
Lululemon just got into the space.
Yeah.
Right. And Icon isn't public, so I can't look at them.
That's true.
So it really is. The only ones I can really look at are Nautilus and Peloton. And Peloton hasn't seen that type of return. So,
but I will also say,
it makes me think there's something specific to Nautilus that caused 1,200%.
I think it's I think it's because it started so low. I really do. Like I think it's just you're just doing percentages, and because it started here, like yeah.
But I think another big key factor there is also you have like 30 years in the market. So like when you do something that the market thinks is awesome, people are going to pay a lot of attention to that because you already have so much money spent. Like you already have all of your manufacturing facilities all worked out. You have your people all worked out. You have your marketing all worked out. You know, Peloton's they've been throwing this together as they grow. Right. You know, they didn't have 30 years to be like, we're just going to sit here for 30 years and not really innovate. And then all of a sudden now we're going to create this new product. You know what I mean? I feel like those are two very different things. And that's another reason that you're not seeing the connected fitness public because nobody else has been able to. I mean, Peloton made the connected fitness. They created the connected fitness market. So everybody else is still trying to catch up. I mean, I definitely think in the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see a whole bunch more.
I agree. I think so too. And I think we're also, if this continues, if we hear on November 9th that they truly have been really successful with this VeloCore bike and it's a blowout earnings call, and they start producing more product, I think Nautilus is going to continue to be a player that at some point will be contending here. But they're small now.
Yeah, they're not like Pepsi to Peloton's Coke, but they're like Dr. Pepper.
I don't even know if they're that. I mean,
they're RC Cola.
Their prospects are.
Yeah.
It's like the prospects of what they could be.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about Peloton. They're a $38 billion company. Nautilus isn't worth $1 billion yet. They're somewhere in $600-700 million range. They really are small, but the prospects and how they're growing and what they're doing to get there, it makes you pay attention.
It does, and I think Peloton would be smart to keep their eye on them, which I'm sure they are.
Yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, where can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook at my Facebook page and group, Run, Lift, and Live. They can also find me on Instagram, Run, Lift, and Live, or at runliftandlive.com. An interesting new item this week in the world of credit cards.
Definitely.
They're always looking for things to points and miles and Disney dollars. And now Chase Sapphire has added Peloton benefits.
Yeah, this was just kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, it really wasn't on my radar for something like this to be out there.
Yeah.
It makes total sense that they were working on it because I'm sure that Peloton gets some kind of perk for so the idea here is that you use your Chase Sapphire card to get a Peloton statement credit for your subscription. So this isn't like per bike or per tread. This is per subscription.
Okay.
So if you use your Chase credit card, and it has to be a Sapphire Reserve or a Sapphire Preferred. Your Sapphire Reserve card, you can get up to $120 in statement credits this year. And then if you use a Sapphire Preferred card, you can get up to $60 in statement credits. The interesting thing about that, I think, is that if Peloton has all these people who start paying with their Chase Sapphire card, I bet you Peloton gets a perk for having a bunch of people pay through their services. Just like whenever you go to the store and you buy something and you use your card, you know how the vendor has to pay 3% or whatever the charges are. I think that there is a deal that has been reached. Let's say they're being charged 3% now. Maybe they'll only be charged 1% or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's mutually beneficial. It's beneficial for the vendor because they're getting the business. It's beneficial for us because we're getting the credits, and it's beneficial for Peloton because I'm betting they're getting some kind of perk. I don't know what it is, but something on that end.
Yeah, it might even be they get a better credit card processing fee. It could be as simple as that.
That's what I literally just
like
said.
if they're going from if they're going from 2.8 to 2.7. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was in another window trying to queue up the next thing in the queue. And then even though he's not on the Zoom tube with us anymore, John Mills posted an interesting article about Peloton in Germany partnering with Kempinski Hotels.
Yeah, I like how you said that with confidence. It's good.
Sure.
I have no idea if it's correct, but I love the confidence regardless.
Thank you.
But yes, you can now have a Peloton brought to your room. How amazing is that?
That's pretty fancy pants.
Now, Westons do that here, but you have to pay a lot more. I don't know what their particular situation is, what Kempinski hotels are. Like, do you have to pay extra? Do you have to pay extra for the room? Do you just pay a rental fee for the bike? All kinds of questions that I didn't get a chance to research.
Yeah, and like that could be like Four Seasons in Germany. I don't
totally.
Who knows what I'm assuming.
Looks like a very nice hotel.
It does based on the picture, but they always look like
that is true. That is true.
They always look like that. And then you get there and the sheets have open sores.
We are not saying that Kempinski hotels have sheets with open sores. We are just saying that they can do a lot.
It happens sometimes when you trust the pictures on the internet.
Yes.
It's like online dating. Worked out good for us though.
It did. Except for when you don't listen.
About April, I think. What?
So, guys, I want to talk about a new product that is launching exclusively here on the Clip Out. It's called the GrooveOn. And the GrooveOn clips to your Peloton bike, and it lets you control the resistance right from your handlebars. You can use it on the original bike or the Bike Plus.
There's a knob.
There is a knob.
Can turn.
But
it's right there.
That's true.
It's
that's
turnable.
True. But like whenever you're using the bike and you're tired, it's really nice to have it right at your fingertips to just hit a button and it's like boop and it goes right where you want it to go.
But you turn the knob.
Well, I know, but a tap is easier than turn.
Okay, I guess I get that.
and if you really wanted to do a cool thing,
right,
you could have a GrooveOn on your handlebars at the top, like when you're in third position.
Okay,
and one in first position. So you wouldn't even have to move your hand at all. Like you literally, where you are, first or third, you just hit it with your thumb and you're moving.
It just goes right there.
Boom.
Okay. So, but you could just reach down there.
We don't like knobs.
Okay, you don't like knobs. You don't like knobs. I think you're about to call me a knob. So, in fairness, we should say you've in secret had one of these on your bike for a while.
I have, and some people have actually
they've noticed it.
They've noticed. They've called me out on it.
What's the doodad there by the knob that I don't want to turn anymore?
I was lucky enough to be able to try it out to get a prototype.
Right.
And so. Now you can have one.
Right.
It's now available to everybody. But here's the thing. They're in the middle of a Kickstarter.
Okay.
So this is brand new. This is a regular person doing this. This is just somebody who had an idea and now he has a Kickstarter. And so you go to the Kickstarter. It's getgrooveon.com/theclipout and you can get a special promotion, $20 off. And you get it for this week. You have a few days.
Right.
You can be one of the very first people to get
it on the ground floor.
Ground floor.
He's just a guy who had an idea. I know another just a guy who had an idea.
Who?
And his name's John Foley.
That's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
But it's still like just the knob is.
Stop.
What?
The Clip Out riders are no longer doing the knob thing. Get your groove on.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jenn.
So joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Dr. Jenn Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. You may know her from VH1's Couple Therapy with Dr. Jenn or VH1's Family Therapy with Dr. Jenn. She's got a long-running radio show, The Dr. Jenn Show. She's written 4 best-selling books, including Relationship Fix, Dr. Jenn's 6-step guide to improving communication, connection, and intimacy. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jenn. Hi.
Hey.
It's been a little bit.
It has.
It has, but it's so great to be back with you guys.
Yes,
Likewise.
I agree. I've missed you.
Our schedules got all kerfluffled.
They did.
And now we've unkerfluffled them.
Here we are.
Or dekerfluffled them. I don't know what's
I like
appropriate.
dekerfluffled.
Dekerfluffled,
yes,
okay.
Yes.
And so, ta-da.
Yes,
we're back.
We are.
So I believe the last time we talked to you, we discussed one of my favorite topics, which is quitting. And
you never got started,
Tom.
Tom.
You have to start before you can quit. So
Amen.
I'm still hoping to get you on a tread or a bike for even 5 minutes.
So anyway, we were talking about quitting, and you were talking about how the option to quit can sometimes propel you further ahead. And then I thought it would be interesting to talk about when is it okay to quit, like what economists would refer to as the sunk cost fallacy, right? Like not everything is for everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
So are you saying exercise in general, or are you saying...
I just maybe a specific type of exercise, or just.
I didn't know if it could be as simple as like that class, or
it could
That's
be.
what I was
It could.
thinking too.
Yeah, like maybe a certain type of exercise, maybe a certain discipline within that exercise, or maybe it's like you're sick of playing guitar, and any minute you spend trying to play guitar is a minute you're not learning to play drums, right?
Yeah.
And so
that's why I wasn't sure if you were like,
Yeah.
okay, you're taking a class and you're just not feeling it. How do you know if you
No, I think it meant just more in general, like this isn't for me.
Okay.
Overall, not a specific class, but just like a discipline.
Okay.
Look, I think that when it comes to, we tend to focus on Peloton, and I think Peloton is really the perfect example as someone who is trained in psychology and sports psychology, because one of the things about Peloton that's so cool is that there are all these different disciplines. It's like there's the tread, there's the bike, there's strength, there's yoga, there's stretching now, there's bar, there's dance, there's like all kinds of different classes. So I think that there are a few factors to look at. One is, are you quitting because it's challenging for you, which indicates it's probably exactly the thing that you need to do. And a lot of the instructors talk about that, that like the class that you least want to take is the class you most need to take. Like I know for me, Tabata, like I see Tabata, I'm like, up next, which means that's probably what I need to do the most.
I'm anything with high cadence. I see high cadence. I'm like, nah.
Yeah. See, I love high cadence. I'll take high cadence any day, but like forget about Tabata or, hills. No, thank you.
Okay.
But there are times where you have to look at it and really have an honest assessment of, okay, I don't want to do this because it's exactly where I'm weak and I need to get stronger. On the other hand, there are times where it's just not your jam and it doesn't inspire you. It doesn't connect with you. And those are the times when you need to be able to go like, you know what? Like, that's okay. Not everything is for everyone. And I'm not going to do these resistance bands. Instead, I'm going to do a different form of strength training. I'm still going to make sure that I get that strength training and that weight bearing exercise for my bones and my muscles and all sort of stuff. But I think that allowing yourself the room to self-reflect enough and to do the activities that really sync with you that's good self-care, because it also means that you're going to do it for longer. You're going to be more consistent. And that kind of consistency is what gets us results in terms of cardio and all of the health benefits.
Do you have any tips or thoughts for people of like, I would think, because it's all hypothetical to me.
We know.
But I would think that it's real easy in that moment to lie to yourself. So how do you, what's a red flag so you can maybe kind of suss out what is not your jam and what is you telling yourself it's not your jam because you just don't want to?
Well, I think that one of the things to do is Peloton has so much of a community to it that most people, whether it is you follow another Peloton addict on Instagram or you're in a Facebook group or you have friends that you work out with, like that you take a class with from afar, that you kind of run it by someone who's a friend who's in this world. Because if you're in this world, you get it, you know the lingo, you know the MO, you know what the instructors are preaching, and you're also someone who's probably likely to be willing to call your friend out. So I think that that's kind of the first place to start. The second is someone who you love. If you don't have anyone in the community like that, or someone you're comfortable reaching out. And I encourage you, by the way, even if you're not, like I've had people who I follow on Instagram, and then at some point we ended up messaging each other and starting a conversation. And, that's kind of the way it grows, that maybe there's someone who you are liking their stuff, and they're liking your stuff, and they're a Peloton person also, to just message them and be like, hey, is there something I can run by you? I know we've never met, but you're a Peloton person too. And I'd love to get some feedback about something I'm struggling with on Peloton. Most people in this community will rise to the occasion and be like, yeah, absolutely. What do you need? So that's one thing. If you don't have anyone in the community or feel comfortable doing that, then reaching out to someone who loves you, your partner, your adult son or daughter, your best friend, your mother, your father, and just kind of say like, hey, this is what I'm struggling with, or a friend who's just really athletic. So I think all of those are good places. If you're in therapy, talking about it with your therapist is a really good place. But I think that it's so important that we are rigorously honest with ourselves. And I think that when we're really in tune with ourselves, we know when we're not. We know when we're making excuses. And I think it's very rare that we lie to ourselves and we really believe our lie.
Yeah, I think for myself, the times that I can quote unquote lie to myself are when I'm kind of being lazy, and it's not like I've stopped altogether. But like I was thinking about it today because I did a run and I also did a strength workout, and I was thinking that like it's been a while since I did both in one day. And I've been saying like, well, but my strength workouts are so much harder, and they are like they're way harder than what I was doing before. But I think my body's probably gotten used to that enough that I can go ahead and add the cardio back in. and I hadn't really thought about that today, but I've been gaining weight, and not even though I've been doing the same workouts, I've been gaining weight. And so I'm like, I think it's because I'm not doing as much cardio as I was before. And so that's like a balance. And my point being that I had kind of tricked myself. I'd kind of like talked myself out of it to the point where I had just kind of stopped, you know?
But I also think that there are times in our training process where we just need a fucking break, where it's like, you know what, like we need to be able to be like, I'm not doing cardio for a couple of days. I'm gonna get my little check mark. So like, I'm going to feel okay. Maybe I'll get up by doing a meditation. Maybe I'll get up by doing a gentle yoga class. But like, sometimes we need to kind of give not just our bodies, but even our exercising brains a break in order to kind of take a breath and then take ourselves to the next level. Because there does need to be some kind of recovery and repair over time. You know, we can really burn ourselves out, and we don't want that because, you know, we want good health for life.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I think those are all great tips.
Definitely.
So thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, where can people find you?
You can find me on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, at Dr. Jenn Man. 2 N's on Jen, 2 N's on Man.
New content.
Tons of new content coming at us. It's crazy time right now.
There is so much. I mean, it's like Peloton is like on hyperdrive. I feel like they've had so much stuff in the pipeline for so long, and then like COVID just like completely messed everything up.
Yeah.
So we've got a brand new boot camp style that dropped this week. It's supposedly it's a very intense workout, but the key is between this and a regular boot camp is that there are 4 rounds. They're always going to look the same. You're always going to know what to expect. You're going to be on the tread. Okay. You're going to be on the floor. You're going to be on the tread. You're going to be on the floor. It's like 6 to 7 minutes split up.
Okay.
This is great for people who like a short segment of 30 minutes because they know, hey, I can get through 6 minutes of running. I can get through 7 minutes of floor. All it is 6 or 7 minutes.
Gotcha.
Like it's easier for some people to wrap your head around
There's
that.
There's light at the end of the tunnel.
Exactly. So those started this week, and you're gonna see them everywhere. But it's the new boot camp. It's called the Signature Series 30 Minutes. So take a look for those. They're really awesome looking.
Awesome.
Next up, we have the Bon Jovi collaboration. So there's this week there was like 3 rides. There was one with. On 11/1, there's going to be Irene Schultz, and then there's one with Sam Yo, and then there's one with Matt Wilpers, and then Kristen McGee is doing yoga, and Andy is doing, I'm not sure if it's a run or a boot camp. So there are tons of opportunities. Oh, I missed one, Kendall Toole. So all kinds of stuff for Bon Jovi.
Totally.
Then there's a flow with Christine McGee. It's a very, very special one that people do not want to miss. Steve Martin. She's pairing up with Steve Martin. You know how he does his little bluegrass thing?
Yeah.
So it's going to be yoga.
He won a Grammy for that little thing, by the way.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't mean to belittle his little thing because it's not belittled. I couldn't do that if my life depended on it. But it is very different from his comedy, which is a much bigger thing.
Totally.
So in comparison.
Yes.
I can't help he's talented on many levels.
That he is.
So Kristen McGee is doing a yoga set to his bluegrass sounds. That's all it's going to be.
Okay.
Thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So that's October 25th at 9 a.m. And then Hannah Frankson is going to be doing a ride with Emeli Sande. And I'm sure you remember her. She had that... Here With Me song. She's had others, I'm sure, but that's
the big one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's also a new challenge called In the Zone. You have to do 8 Power Zone rides in 14 days. They're all already existing 30-minute rides. You can find them in the Train Smart collection. The Jess King Experience is back for season 2. That's started up this week. I believe it's 10/29 at 8 p.m.
And it's now Karen friendly.
And while we're talking about this, you got to wonder if there's going to be new clothes for this, because they had stuff that came out this week for the Love the Sundays with Love.
Sure.
And then they had the new Grateful Dead collection drop this week.
Okay.
And then there's a new Grateful Dead collaboration happening. And then there was also a new collection that hit today. It hit on 10/26 called Made for Canada. And it's to celebrate the second Peloversary
right.
for Canada. And it's all songs that are powered by music from Canadian artists that you love.
Awesome.
So they are just like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, they are. It's just crazy. I mean, like so much coming at you.
Yeah. And then I also want to mention that if you are not paying attention to what the instructors are doing on Instagram, you need to stop what you were doing and go follow them for the rest of October at the very least, because there's so much fun stuff happening. Andy Spear dressed up as Fred from Scooby-Doo, and it looks amazing. And then Maddie Giacomo, like he had a whole like... Are you sure?
Yeah.
The psycho scene. Oh my God. This is like, I love this. He like completely redid the psycho scene in his shower, but it's pasta and his grandma's beating him with a spoon. You guys have got to see this. It's amazing. He calls it Psycho Pomodoro. And then...
And Maddie, if you're wondering why you were having so hard of a time recreating the shot of the shower head, send me an email and I'll explain how they actually got that shot.
I'm totally going to send him a message about that because I bet he's curious. And I loved your answer to that, by the way. And then also, Rebecca Kennedy is doing a whole Hunger Game theme. It's coming up on Friday, and there is the picture of Fred.
Yeah.
And then on Friday, what she's doing is she's calling out tributes as Hunger Games.
Okay.
And each exercise move is a tribute. And so on Friday, during the actual Hunger Games, you have to do whatever tributes she has picked throughout the week.
Okay.
So it's like totally fun. She was all dressed up as the lady who does the tribute calling for the Hunger Games.
Right.
It was crazy. It was so much fun. I mean, I cannot believe all the, and that's just the bare minimum. Like, we also have Halloween, where there's going to be Maddie Giacomo totally torturing Jess Sims. So you cannot miss that. And then Jess King, I think she said she had like 4 different Halloween outfits picked out for Halloween. So there's so many Halloween rides, runs, yogas. Do not miss them. This is my favorite time of the year because the instructors are so incredibly
excited,
creative,
festive,
creative. They're so creative. Phew, I think I got through like 20 different line items there.
I think that should count as a workout for today. That's a new Peloton workout. And then real quickly, because I had it up on my screen momentarily for the people following along on YouTube, we should probably say that our own Crystal O'Keefe was featured on the Peloton Apparel page.
I was, and so many people reached out to tell me. It was great. They were like, oh my gosh, you were on the Peloton Apparel page. So there's a new feature. Whenever you get your new clothes, you can model them and then add them to the Peloton website.
Oh, that's really cool.
So when you get your clothes and you're like, oh, I love this shirt, you can then upload your own picture to the Peloton Apparel website.
Well, I think the really exciting part was that I was able to sneak the monkeys onto the Peloton Apparel page because you're standing in front of my signed monkeys poster. Yes.
That's the most exciting.
Well, you get featured by Peloton all the time.
I ride. I run.
And now I got the monkeys on there.
Congrats, Tom. I am so glad that it made your day. That's great.
That's kind of the look that people were wanting.
I'm not mad enough to give the look right now.
Yeah.
Just like mildly annoyed.
I'll have to.
You're going to have to really up your game.
Challenge accepted. And also, there was a movie buff ride this week.
Yeah,
where you got a shout out.
I did
Miss,
get a shout out.
I don't get featured all the time. You got featured.
I didn't say I didn't get featured all the time. I said I ride and run.
Right. Okay.
So there's a reason because I'm participating, I get an option to be featured.
Just saying, the monkeys didn't get a shout out on the movie buff ride.
They did not.
Okay.
But in their defense, it was all about horror movies. So this was the first ride I've taken with Kendall that was live. It was my first live ride with Kendall. And I was really curious about it. She's a child actor, and she kept saying how it's going to be very different and how it's something you've never done before. And I was like, how? I mean, you ride, like, how can you really make it different? But she did. She acted out all these different horror scenes, which I know I can't say it in a way that's going to accurately describe what it is. Like, you just need to check it out for yourself. And I think this is going to be one of those ride types that you either love it or you hate it. I don't think there's an in between. I personally loved it. I thought she really used her own special talent from acting to like really make it fun.
And her love of film.
Because she talked all about the different film aspects. Like she really kind of set the scene of each song. So there would be a song from the movie, and then she would set that scene. And then because it was horror, one of the things we were doing is running from people.
Right.
Or cycling from people. But it was really, really well done. And they did use some interesting film techniques, because at one point the camera came around behind her and like scared her,
right,
which I say in quotes. Then afterwards she went on Facebook Live or Instagram Live, and she talked all about why she did that and like how she was basically telling a story with all of those scenes. Like each of those scenes actually made their own movie, which was pretty cool too. Yeah. And then the other thing she mentioned is that the Movie Buff series will be taking place once a month going forward. So the next one will be in November. And she already told me that she's not going to be dressing up like a turkey. No turkey.
No turkeys.
But it's going to be a different one. They've already planned out like the first 4 or 5. So I don't know what they're going to be, but I think it's going to be really fun. So I think everybody should check it out. I'm not saying everyone's going to love it, but I definitely think that it's one of those things that like, it's such an experience and it was so fun live that everybody should do whatever they can to be on these rides live.
Peloton birthdays.
And then finally, we do have a Peloton birthday this week, November 5th.
Chase Tucker.
Country music superstar Chase Tucker.
Cracks me up every time you say that. Happy birthday to Chase. That's awesome.
So swing on by the Chase Tucker page and say happy birthday with your typing.
Yeah,
that's
that
what
was
you're
me
doing.
typing.
That was you typing.
Yeah, I was not doing some creepy thing with my hands.
Although, if you'd like to later.
Oh, Tom.
Wouldn't be
not
creepy.
In the middle of his birthday wishes.
Yeah, we'll save it for my birthday wishes.
You already had your birthday.
Oh, man. Like a half birthday? Like in grade school?
We could do that.
Okay.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
So joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Stephanie Ward. Hey, Stephanie.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. I always like to start the interviews off with, how did you find Peloton?
So I found Peloton through my sister, and I'm extreme Peloton newbie. Like, have not been around Peloton for even a minuscule amount of time compared to you or anybody else listening, probably. But my sister got a Peloton like right before COVID, and I didn't know anything about Peloton, but I just knew she kept telling me this thing is the best purchase I've ever invested in, and I was like, okay, great. So we looked at purchasing the bike, but I didn't know. And she said, you know what? The app is being offered for free for 3 months because of COVID. And I was like, cool. So I downloaded the app. I thought, let me just jump in and try this. And I had a treadmill in my house. So I ran before I had Peloton. I say that in quotation marks because I was like, oh, I'm a runner. I occasionally run 2 miles like every 6 days, whatever. And I was like, oh, I'll do a walk run class with Olivia Amato. How hard could that be? And I thought I was physically going to die. My husband walked in on me after the class was over, and I was laying on the floor, and he was like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I don't think so. But and then he was like, well, how was the class? And I was like, I loved it. And he was like, well, that's weird, but okay. And then I kept doing it. And then one day he came home with a regular like spin bike. And so I started doing the spin classes, and then I started doing the yoga and the strength, and I totally started drinking the Peloton Kool-Aid. And that was only in April. And then in July, I was asking him, I said, I really want to order this bike. And he said, I don't know if we want to invest in that. And I said, okay, you take one class on my spin bike, take one class and tell me that it doesn't suck. And he was like, okay. So he took one class on the spin bike and he was like, yeah, we're going to order the Peloton. That night we ordered the Peloton and it has been the best thing ever.
Wow, all of that. I love how enthusiastic you are. You remind me of me whenever I first started. But I have so many questions for you. So like that approach never would have worked for me because Tom wouldn't have gotten on the bike.
No, I'd have been like, how about you get the bike, but I don't ride it. I believe that's exactly how it played out.
As long as you get the bike, who cares?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
See, it's funny where you went, where I went in my head is when you said you got the bike because of your sister, I was like, is your sister going to be upset that she led you to Peloton
And you got the interview.
and you're on the clip out and
She did say, she was like, exactly how did you manage this? And I was like, I don't know. I just thought to myself, let me just reach out to Crystal and see. She'll probably be like, oh, you're so sweet, but no. And you were like, okay. And I was like, oh, all right.
it's like Ghostbusters. We got one.
Yeah, I was like, score.
So does your sister live near you? Because you mentioned that you live in Alaska. So I'm wondering about the logistics of getting a bike in Alaska. Like that sounds so far away.
It is. And so, no, my whole family, I'm from New Orleans originally. And so my sister, shout out to Jenn Steen, love you. She lives in New Orleans with my whole family. And then we live in Alaska, which is where my husband is from. And we ended up moving here for his job. But yeah, so we live in Juneau where you cannot drive into Juneau. You either have to fly or come by boat. And so my bike came here on the ferry. And there's no team here. So my husband had to go to the ferry dock, pick up the bike in boxes, bring it home. We loaded it into our gym. And then he set it up all by himself, completely set the whole thing up.
So is there an extra delivery? Is it cost more to get it delivered to Juneau?
It was pretty pricey, but I finagled my way into a refund because when I originally ordered my bike, that was my specific question was like, there's no way there's going to be a team here to set it up. And she was like, oh, no, they'll come to your house. They'll set the whole thing up. And then like a week later after I ordered my bike, they were like, psych. No, you have to go get it. And so I called them and I was like, I pretty much explained and they were like, oh, we'll just refund you the delivery fee. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, that's cool. So, because shipping anything, the only people that ship for free up here are Amazon. And even that, our Prime is like 2 weeks, not 2 days. So
what?
It's funny. My next question was going to be, how's Amazon Prime work in Juneau?
Oh my God.
Occasionally you get a little surprise where you'll get a notification being like, your order's coming today. And you're like, sweet. But yeah, you have to really, if I'm ordering Christmas presents for the kids or anything like that, you got to think way far out because it takes at least a week or two. And then sometimes it's like, oh, it was delayed in customs and da-di-da because it goes through Canada. And so,
okay. It's so weird that it would take longer for Christmas presents to get there because geographically you're so much closer to Santa.
Right? You would think Santa would just fly down from the North Pole, but no.
It's so weird the way the routing works.
Yeah, it's his distribution center.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's supply chain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
it was a process.
Wow, that does sound.
So how does a New Orleans girl, Nolans?
There you go.
Because I don't sound like an idiot when I say it that way. I don't like to mispronounce. I still call them salt and pepper.
I know. I'm the same way. Like I can't do it. Just salt and pepper. It sounds wrong. It sounds wrong.
I'm not that cool either. So
So how do you end up with a husband who's from Alaska and then you end up in Alaska?
I know everybody asks me this because it's so bizarre, but I left Louisiana to go actually move to Orlando, Florida, and I worked at Disney World for a while. And my husband had followed a girl down to Orlando, and he was working. He's a pilot, so he was working as an airline pilot in Orlando and had started his own management company and was flying small airplanes down there. And we just ended up having mutual friends and we met. started dating, we got married, we bought a house. His ultimate goal was always to work for Alaska Airlines. And so he lived in Florida, built up all of his hours in order to be able to apply. And so right after we got married, I think we were in our first house for maybe a year, and then they hired him. And
wow.
Nice. Hopefully somewhere in that story, he broke up with the girl he followed to Orlando. Hey, whatever works for you guys. I'm just.
No, we're not Mormon or anything.
Saying, everybody can address those letters to Stephanie. Or normally I'm the one that gets yelled at, and now it's going to be you.
That's now okay. My kids yell at me all day. He and I have been together now for like 11 years, going on 12. So.
Oh, awesome! Well, congratulations. Yeah. That's very cool. You. Yeah, what a circuitous route.
Yeah. So, how long have you been in Alaska?
Yeah.
We moved here in 2015. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
So 2015, and we lived in Anchorage for the first few years, but I really wasn't a fan of Anchorage, and so Juneau is a very small town. There's a lot of families. I had some girlfriends here already, so we like it a lot better here. It's a good place to raise kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's neat. We were in Alaska just last summer.
Oh my gosh,
it feels like 45 years ago.
It does feel so long ago.
Did you do a cruise? Or
yeah, we did. We did a Disney cruise, and so we did Ketchikan and
Skagway.
And I haven't been to Skagway yet, but I want to go. It's when it's open and there's tourists. Pre-COVID, it's supposed to be a really fun place.
It is, and one of our fellow Peloton friends is there too. Yeah. So if you do go, let me know.
Because I will.
I can connect you too. So
love it.
But it's just such a it's just such a different way of life up there.
It is, yeah.
Yes, yeah. But the boys, like my boys, love it because their dad can fly an airplane, so they get to go on airplanes all the time. And then we have a boat, so we go boating, and they get to do fishing and hiking. And we take our boat. There's some warm springs, like warm hot springs, natural springs, and we do that. I mean, it is from coming. I'm a Southern girl, so like coming from the South and coming up here, I knew it was going to be an adventure, and that's kind of what drew me to coming here with my husband. But it's been hard in some aspects, but then it's also been really great. And my kids love it.
That's awesome. And I'm wondering about the difficulties, because I know when we were talking offline, you told me that there's been a journey that you've had with anxiety and depression and all of that. And I would love to hear that. And also I'd love to hear how that like coincided with moving to Alaska, because I know there's special things to think about with the daylight up there. So I never had anxiety or depression ever. I didn't even know what anxiety would feel like before I came up here. And it wasn't so much being in the darkness. I mean, it's definitely hard because it's when you get to a point where it gets to be the longer days, you're almost up to 24 hours of darkness. And it's not quite 24, but on the longest days, I mean, it gets in the 20s as far as hours of darkness. And so it is hard in that aspect. But I was here for a year before I had kids. And it didn't really bother me, especially because my husband's job, we got to get out. Traveling out during the winter pretty much is like key. And so, but once I had the kids, and both my kids were born in the winter, my first baby was fine, like as far as the labor and everything like that. But he was sick like the whole first of his year of his life. And so I lost a lot of weight and stopped exercising because I wasn't eating, because I was so stressed. And then before he was even 2, in fact, he turned 1 in February. And then I believe it was in March, I got pregnant with my second baby. So then I was going to have a toddler who was under 2 and then a newborn. And then we moved to Juneau also. And so it was just a lot going on. And so during the pregnancy, everything was fine. The labor was amazing. I actually wanted to do natural labor with my first, and I didn't get to. So with my second one, I got to do a natural labor and a water birth, which was really important to me. That's awesome.
And so that was great. But then the first night that we took him home, I remember laying awake and I could hear him breathing funny. And it sounded, I don't know if you've ever heard a pug breathe, how they like sound like they're snorting, like it's labored.
Yeah.
Like they can't. Yeah. So that's what he sounded like. And I remember I picked him up and I sat in the recliner with him and I stayed up all night listening to him breathing. And the next day I took him to the pediatrician and she said, no, I don't like the way that sounds. I'm sending you to the NICU. So she sent us to the NICU, and I was hysterical, of course, because I have this tiny little human who's having a hard time breathing, which is an extremely scary thing. And so we went to the NICU, and I remember it was like 5 doctors and nurses all around this little incubator. They put him in there and they're attaching him to all these wires and monitors. And I was a mess. And they were trying to ask me questions. And I was like, just ask my husband. I can't answer you right now. And so we were in there for 2 days, I believe. And then they released us. They told us his oxygenation levels were fine, but he was having a blocked nostril. And as time went on, as his his nasal cavity grew, then the problem would just solve itself. So what happened is that normally babies cry when they come out of the womb, and expel amniotic fluid and anything else that is up in their nasal cavity. Well, he didn't cry. So I guess he had things that were blocking, and then also just the tininess of his nasal cavity combined those things to make it hard for him to breathe. And so we went home, everything was fine. A month later, though, my mom, thank God she was in town because my husband was gone. He woke up in the middle of the night and he was having such a hard time breathing that you could, when he unzipped his pajamas, you could see his rib cage because he was pulling his chest in so hard to breathe. And so I rushed him to the ER. It was 2 a.m. My mom stayed with my older son, and he had RSV, which I don't know if you've ever heard of RSV, but it's a respiratory virus, and it can be really dangerous for infants. As in adults, it just presents itself like a bad cold, but in infants, it is really dangerous. And so they put him immediately on a breathing treatment. We were in the ER, I think for 2 days, maybe 3 days, and then they released him. So all this combination of factors with this child, and it was also in the winter. And that's when I started every single night. I would wake up in a full blown panic attack. I mean,
I get that. I totally get that. Your body was like trained to be on high alert for everything. Oh my gosh.
So I would wake up and I would have racing heart, sweating, nausea, like could not calm myself down. And it was every single night. And then in combination with the loss of sleep, it makes your anxiety worse. So I felt like I was just living under this cloud. And I thought, you know what, I can't do this anymore. And so I went to a therapist, and she put me on anti-anxiety medication, which was fine. I was happy to do anything that was going to make me feel better. But she also, I remember her looking at me and saying, what is one thing you used to do for yourself that you don't do anymore? And I said, I used to run. And she goes, well, why don't you do that anymore? And I was like, I don't know. I have a toddler and an infant, and it's not something that I think about. I just think about taking care of my kids. I don't think about taking care of myself because they're so little. And she was like, you have got to find something to take care of yourself, to do for yourself. She was like, I don't care what it is. You need some sort of an outlet. And so I started the anti-anxiety medications, and that was all fine. And it was a few months after that I started kind of running again, but not really. And I would do it sporadically, and I was still having a lot of anxiety. And then my sister had texted me about Peloton, and she said, I think this would be really good for you. And so I was like, okay. And I swear I took that first class and I was immediately hooked. And now I work out every single day, pretty much. I'm really bad about taking days off, but I have lowered my anxiety medication in hopes of eventually weaning off of it. I am so much happier. Even my husband is like, you are a whole new person, because I'm so positive, where I used to complain all the time. And I was so negative all the time. And I just was never happy. I was just not in a good place. But now, like physically, emotionally, mentally, I am just so happy. I'm in the best shape of my life. I've lost like 18 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is all since April. Like, it's been this huge change in such a small amount of time. But between the outlet of exercise, and then you know how amazing the instructors are.
Absolutely.
The things that you hear while you're sweating out your emotions. I saw multiple therapists. I talked to my girlfriends. I talked to my husband. Like, nobody could do what this has done for me. And it's just been such a transformation. And I'm like, okay, I can't stop this. It's amazing.
So on that last point, I'm curious, do you think that is about they're words of empowerment, or do you think that it's the combination of moving while you're processing? Like, what do you think is for you is the key ingredient that makes it different than just a talk therapy situation?
I think it is absolutely the movement in combination with the empowering statements that they have to make and the things that they have to say. Because for me, and I know that they say this a lot too, that movement is medicine. And I really always felt when I was a runner before my kids, I felt so much better after I went for a run. Even if I'd had a bad day or I just was feeling sluggish, I would go for a run and I would feel so amazing afterwards. And so now I'm not only feeling like I'm getting that exercise to let my stress out, but then I'm also feeling like I'm working with a training partner who is just motivating me and empowering me and making me see the good side of life, like flip the script and make me think about things in a different way instead of thinking of things negatively. Like there's always some sort of something that you can look at your situation in a different way and say, you know what, I really am lucky. And so I definitely feel like it's a combination of the two. It's magic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was just thinking back to the story about your son, just how lucky you are that Juneau has that sort of healthcare infrastructure.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's so far removed. That was where my head immediately went. And like, how far do you got to go to get stuff like that done?
Well,
Great
actually,
question.
so we were in Anchorage because I had my first son in Anchorage and I wanted the same midwife to deliver my second son. So
Gotcha.
my mother-in-law at that time was living in Anchorage. So right around my due date, we went to Anchorage to have him. It's and thank God I did, because there is no NICU in Juneau.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was
So
just
I would
wondering
have had to have been medevaced out to the NICU.
Which would add a whole nother layer.
Yeah.
If you weren't going through
Right.
enough. Yeah.
And
Jeez.
bill.
Yeah. And the bill. Ooh,
And a bill,
yeah.
yes. Yes, a hefty bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so are both sons healthy now? It sounds like they are. You said they're like really active and rambunctious. Is everybody all good?
Yes, they are very healthy and very happy, and we are very lucky because there's lots of ways it could have gone, but no, they are very healthy and extremely active, and yes, they're all good.
Wow.
Well, that's good.
Thank God.
That is, yeah, definitely. Oh man. So you said you were taking anti-anxiety medication. Did you ever have to take anything for depression as well, or whatever medicine you were taking? Not that you have to share that. Did it address both?
It did, yeah. So it's kind of, I guess, a combo anxiety, depression sort of medication. So yeah, it definitely did both.
I'm always curious about that because I'm fascinated by the fact that anxiety and depression so often go hand in hand. Like to me, that's really interesting the way our brain works. It's like there's got to be something in there that's like, this isn't healthy and this isn't working, which then makes you feel depressed, because you're so anxious about everything. But then it doesn't. I don't know why it doesn't offer you this like help switch of like, hey,
I would have been so nice. I know. Yeah. No, I just feel like because I was having the anxiety, then I just got so like angry and upset that I was feeling this way and I couldn't do anything about it. No matter what I did, I would, do breathing exercises and like all these things that I was finding is like nothing helped me. And so nothing helped me like exercise and what I've been doing has for sure. So yeah, it is weird. And I wouldn't say like depressed, like some people get where they can't get out of bed. That was not the way that I was, because I knew my children needed me, but I definitely was not there for them. And, I'm so much better of a mom, a friend, a wife now than I was then.
That's incredible.
And I think that's it. When people talk, when your doctor was telling you about, you got to take care of yourself, I think a lot of times people lose sight of the fact that taking care of yourself up to a point is taking care of your children. You know what I mean? Like you have to be in a certain mindset and healthy place to be able to take care of them effectively.
Yeah. And I definitely had mom guilt is real, y'all. Mom guilt is real.
And it doesn't ever go away. Not that that's really something you want to hear, but
no, I know my mom has told me that hundreds of times. And I'm like, I totally believe you, because mom guilt is real and it is so powerful. And you just feel, even now I have days where I go for a long run or something and I'm like, God, I'm missing out on time with my kids. But I mean, they're fine. And when I come home and I'm so happy, then they're like, Mom, you want to play? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Rather than being like, oh, not right now.
Right.
But by making yourself healthy, you're also getting yourself more time with your kids.
Yeah, like it's also you're adding on to the end of your life, which is great. That'll be more time you get with them. Yeah.
Yes.
It is definitely important. I also think that when you're a new mom, it's hard to focus on yourself because I really think that our bodies are just kind of like trained to just focus on the baby. And especially if you have two, I never had two little ones at the same time. So I don't know how that feels, but I can only imagine that it would make it more intense, more ways that you have to split up your time. And so like from a
biological,
yeah, that level, it's like you're just so focused on their needs, and then at some point their needs become a little bit less, but like you're already on that wavelength, that schedule, and it's hard to pull back and be like, what do I need now? Now they don't need me as much. What can I do for me? Like that never occurred to me to even have that conversation. So I think a lot of women go through that. I think that's a pretty common, like, easy thing to fall into, and then add panic attacks on top of it. I mean, I can't even imagine how difficult that was to like get out of that cycle. So
it's funny that you say that, because so when I was going through that time, my sister called me and she said, you know what, I have a girlfriend who's been through, she's not going through it anymore, but she went through exactly what you're going through. Her husband's a doctor. Here's what medicine she's taking, and she wants to talk to you. So I talked to her and she gave me all this advice. And she pretty much was like pep talking me, like, this is not going to be forever. You will not feel this way forever. You're going to get through this. And I would periodically text her if I was having a really bad day or whatever. And now I had a girlfriend text me just yesterday that said, I have a friend that's going through a really hard time and she wants to know what you went through. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm on the other side of this. This is so nice. And now I can help someone else. And so, yeah, a lot of moms go through it, and I'm really keen on talking about it because a lot of people don't talk about it and they think that there's shame in getting help or taking medication. And I'm just like, you know what? It's not going to hurt you. It's only going to help you. And if you need that, do it. Do whatever is going to make you a better you and more happy.
I totally 100% agree with that. And I think there's a stigma attached to it. I think the shame that you said. And I also think that, I personally have dealt with being very anxious. I am a very anxious person, and depression as well. And I didn't want to take medicine because I didn't want to lose parts of me, and I didn't want to be dependent on the medication. Like I was afraid I wouldn't feel emotions in the same way I felt them before. I was afraid that I wouldn't be who I am at my core, and I think that's really scary to some people like myself. And so I think that's another reason that people don't talk about it, because it's a weird thing to think that like taking a drug could make you a different person, but we all know people who have taken recreational drugs that have become different people. And so it's hard not to relate those two things,
Right. And I did have a fear about, because I don't even like to take Tylenol. Like I am not, I just don't. My husband's the same way. We just don't like to take medication. And so when she was like, I'm going to prescribe this, I was like, I don't know. But I was in such a bad place that I was so desperate that I was like, I will do anything that will make me feel better as long as it's not going to harm my body.
Absolutely.
And I get annual blood work every year and everything's always fine. But like I said, now I'm like coming down off of it. I'm like trying, I'm like, I want to try to live without this. I put the Band-Aid on for a while,
sure,
but I'm not going to do this. I don't want to do it forever. And you shouldn't. Depending on what your doctor says, but
right.
And I think that's a good thing for people if they're in a similar situation to keep in mind that some people, it's a maintenance thing that they need to stay on forever.
Mm-hmm.
For other people, it's a means to an end, and you can kind of get over the hump and then find other avenues like you discussed, and then you can start to back off of it. So if it does intimidate you, there's also that's always a potentiality.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I would just say, do what you need to do in order to be your best self, to feel your best, work with your doctor and, do what's right for you. And there's no shame in anything that you need to do to make yourself feel better.
I agree 100%. And I have a question too. It sounds like all the exercise that you're doing is very cardio focused, which I know raises your endorphin level and love it. But I'm also curious if you ever do any of the weight programs that, you know, the weight classes that Peloton has, and if you get the same feeling after you're done with those classes.
I do the strength classes, but it definitely is in combination with cardio. Well, the bike boot camp would be the one thing that I could say that I did get the endorphin, like feel good, because you can't not with as high as your heart rate is during those. It's insane. They're so hard, but they're so great. And I've only done a couple because I know they just came out, but I love them. But like today I went for a run. And then I did a core class. But if I had just done that core class, then I would have been like, no, I need some cardio. So cardio is really what makes me feel the best, but I know I should be doing the strength in combination. So I do the strength classes, but I also have to have some cardio to go with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was just curious if you were similar, because I love all the cardio and I've really been trying to focus on strength, but I can tell in myself for sure that like feel good feeling that I get, it's much more pronounced from cardio rather than strength. And I still enjoy the strength workouts. I love them, but it's a very different feeling. And so I was just curious if you had the same effect.
I do. Yeah. I have to really like sweat in order to feel really good.
Like you accomplished something.
Yeah. And I love it. So, I mean, I love the core classes and the weightlifting, the body weightlifting, and like everything. I love it all. But, and I do sleep meditations and I do yoga and I do the stretch. I mean, I do all of it. I dabble in all of it, but my main focus for me and what makes me feel the best is definitely sweating and getting a really great cardio workout.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a treadmill? Like, it doesn't sound like you have a Peloton tread, but do you have a treadmill to run inside?
I do. I have a treadmill. You actually can't get the Peloton tread in Alaska.
Yet. I think the smaller tread.
I know. I hope it's a yet. Even though I don't let my husband hear me say that. I guess I'll heard it now. But yeah, we have this treadmill. And when we got the bike, he was like, how long till you need the treadmill, honey? And I was like, well.
As soon as they start delivering.
Yeah.
Based on results, he can't complain.
That's right.
Like that's
true. That's true. He is all, I mean, he comes in, he's so funny. Well, he works out with me, Tom. So he'll like today I was on the treadmill taking a run with Matt Wilpers, and he was on the bike doing a ride with Dennis. And then he was done before me, and he'll randomly come in the gym and be like, get it, honey, go. And so he is like full on, you do it. I know it's making you feel so great. I love the person that you are now and how happy you are. So yeah, he's all about it. So yeah, he can't complain.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was just trying to imagine how you could possibly run outside in Alaska, like during the winter. You know, I was like, how would a person even do that on a regular basis?
You know, I've never, I don't think I run outside. So, like during the winter, no, I run outside here in the summer. Sure. And then like, you know, even the fall days, sometimes it's really rainy, but you just go out anyway. Cause sometimes you just need to run outside. But in the winter, I don't think I've ever run out here in the winter. I've always done it on the treadmill, but I do see people do it, and they put ice cleats on their tennis shoes and run. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get on my treadmill. Like that seems like a lot for me.
Yeah, it's
safer.
Yeah,
it's safer.
Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? My gym's really warm. So no ice, no snow.
Right.
No, yeah. But some people, you know, more power to you if that's your thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm just curious real quick, since Juneau's kind of remote, what's COVID like up there?
Yeah, good question.
Is it like does it feel safer because it's harder for it to kind of encroach, or?
There's so many outdoor situations there too.
Yeah, Juneau has been super cautious. Very, very cautious. So we don't have very many cases here. The public schools are closed. They're all doing virtual learning. The private schools are open. So like my oldest son is in private preschool. And so he goes 3 days a week. All the teachers have to wear masks and gloves, and everything is sanitized. You have to wash your hands. They wash their hands probably 10 times a day, you know, all that kind of stuff. But the restaurants are open. The bars shut down for a little bit because there was a little bit of an outbreak from a big social gathering that somebody had. But they're super conservative here. And so I actually have a nurse who works at the hospital here, a nurse friend. I'll randomly text her and say, hey, what's it like over there now? And there's been nobody here on ventilators. There's been nobody that's been severely ill and hospitalized. Like they may have had a few cases go through and then they sent them home, they recovered. And so, but they're very, very cautious up here right now. So.
That's awesome.
That is.
I mean,
that they're being careful.
Yeah.
And that you're keeping your numbers down. That's wonderful.
Well, and we do feel like we're kind of in a bubble here a little bit.
Right.
At least I do. I feel a little bit removed from the rest of the country and a little bit safer. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would get that. Speaking of school, like, during regular times, what's it take for a kid to get a snow day in Juneau?
Yeah, that's a great question.
It takes a lot. I don't know that there was one snow day last year that my son
And
had
what was that day? How bad was that day?
The snow was up to my roof. No, I'm kidding. We had to dig our way out. No, it was pretty. It might have been like 3 or 4 feet.
In one day?
Yeah.
In a day?
In a day?
Well, no, not in a day. I'm lying. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not a meteorologist.
I'm not a meteorologist, and I really feel like my head is so consumed with my daily life with my kids that I kind of like, my mom will call me to give me news updates. I'm like, what happened today? I don't know.
No, I totally get that. Every time I talk to my mom, all she wants to do is talk about the weather. And I'm like, it's not that different. We live 2 hours away from each other. I don't know. And I don't care. I did my thing.
Yeah. And, I think that day it was that we had to pick him up early. It was more that the roads were really bad. So they were worried about the roads being so icy more than the snow. But it would have to be pretty bad for them to get a snow day because we really don't get incredible amounts. Anchorage gets a lot more snow than we do.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much
like,
here. It spits snow and we're like, better cancel.
Yeah.
I used to live in St. Louis. And so I do know that. I did. I lived there for a while. I followed a guy there. And I lived in Afton.
So you and your husband have something in common. You follow people.
I know.
He followed him to a better place, though.
I did. Yeah, we're meant to be. See. I lived in Afton for a little bit. If you know.
Okay. Just across the river there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Home of John Goodman.
Is it?
Yeah, John Goodman's from Afton. Yeah.
Really? Well, he lives in New Orleans now.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
You flipped places.
I know. Yeah, we crossed paths.
So, what is your leaderboard name?
My leaderboard name is Mom Swag 2016. I am a member of Robin's Sweat with Swagger crew, and she is she's my guru. I love her.
Did you take the Hamilton ride last night?
I was on the Hamilton ride with you, and I stuffed you on the leaderboard and high-fived you like 3 times till you high-fived me back.
It was hard. There were a lot of them. I was high-fiving the whole time.
I only had like 3 people high-five me, and then I was like, Crystal probably has like just a whole So my husband came in, and I'm doing this ride, and I was like, it popped up because I follow you, and it was like, Flip Out Crystal's on this ride, and I was like, oh my God. And he was like, who's that? And I was like, that's the girl interviewing me tomorrow. Hello. And so I was like, high five. And you didn't. And I was like, high five. I was like, I'm just going to annoy her.
I do remember seeing that because I high fived you and you high fived right back. And I was like, oh, I'm not doing it again. It's too much effort it was like right in the middle of an interval. I was like, I can't.
Oh God, I can't.
That's her arms workout. Doing high fives.
But yeah, no, I was on that ride, and I was actually on the live ride when she announced she was pregnant. My sister and I were taking that ride together, and she announced she was pregnant, and so that was really fun to be with my sister on that ride. But yeah, no, Mom Swag 2016. I mean, I became a mom in 2016. I love Robin, and I feel like she always talks about, oh God, I can't get enough mom swag. I love mom swag. So I was like, perfect.
That's awesome. Wow.
So do you have any advice for people just getting their bike?
I do. I feel like when I first got my bike, I was so focused in on like output and I wanted a PR and I wanted to go up the leaderboard, and I got kind of stressed about it. And I was like, this is stupid. Like, I'm just going to get on the bike and I'm going to have fun and I'm going to work hard, and whatever my output is what my output is for that day, and it'll be fine. But I still got on the bike and I did it. So just get on your bike, do the workout, have a great time, enjoy, take a multitude of instructors. I just took a Jess King experience the other day, and that was my first one. It was awesome. It was so amazing. And so, yeah, just have fun with it. Don't overthink it, and just be glad that you have a Peloton in the first place.
Very good advice.
Absolutely.
Very good advice.
Well, I guess before we go, where can people find you on social media if you would like to be found?
Sure. So I am S Ward, WARD 0514 on Instagram. I am Stephanie Ward on Facebook, and I am Mom Swag 2016 on Peloton.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. And I know you were kid-free during this time. And
I know. And my husband was like, why don't you text me when you're done? So maybe I'll wait like a half hour. I'm like, oh, late.
That Tom won't shut up.
Kick back, read a book, watch your favorite movie.
Then whenever this episode comes out, you can be, I can't believe how much they edit out of these things.
I know. It's so
crazy.
weird. He's like, it was only 30 minutes.
Too funny. Well, thank you again for doing this. It was a lot of fun. And it was also very educational. Thank you for sharing your journey and your experience with anxiety and depression. I really appreciate having those discussions with people and kind of keeping it real, you know? That's
Yeah, definitely. No fakeness. Just tell it like it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, thank you guys so much. This was so much fun.
It was.
Yes.
You have a good night.
Thanks. You too. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I guess that brings this one to an end.
That it does.
So until next time, where can people find you?
People can find me at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe. They can find me on Instagram, Twitter, The Bike, or The Tread at Clip Out Crystal.
And you can find me on Instagram. On Twitter, you can find me on Instagram, but it's a waste of your time.
It is.
You follow me on Twitter at Roger Kubert, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. And then find the show online at facebook.com/The Clip Out. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, sign up for the newsletter at theclipout.com. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep pedaling.
And running.
Clip in.